One question I'm asked quite a lot is how often and how hard should I ride my bike? And like most questions about cycling, the answer isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. What you need to take into account is your current level of fitness and the level of fitness that you want to achieve. There's no point in me saying, oh yes, you have to cycle for X number of hours so many times a week, if in reality you're struggling to ride for 30 minutes in one go. So let's just start with some of the absolute basics. In many ways, cycling is essentially a battle between fitness and fatigue. What you don't want is for fatigue to start winning that battle. If it does, you run the risk of overtraining and potential strains and injuries. In some cases, it can even lower your immune system, leaving you open to things like colds and infections. The best way to avoid this is simply to give yourself enough recovery time between rides. But now we're edging into even more vague territory. How long this will be then depends on how fit you currently are and how hard you've pushed yourself. Let's imagine a beginner cyclist going out on a ride that takes them just outside of their comfort zone. Typically, they will feel physically tired, so heavy legs and generally a little drained. I would suggest that they would be suitably recovered from this ride once they start to feel normal and their legs have almost stopped aching. That would then be a great time to get back on the bike and go out for their next ride. This might take a day or it might take a week. Only they themselves will know exactly when this will be. By contrast, you have an experienced cyclist who also goes out on a ride that takes them outside of their comfort zone. Now, obviously, as you would expect, this ride will be over a longer distance and they might have pushed themselves just that little bit harder. But because their level of fitness is generally higher than the beginner cyclist, their recovery time might only be a few hours. Another thing that needs to be added to the mix is what you hope to achieve. Do you want to maintain the fitness that you already have, or do you want to improve it? If you want to maintain it, I would suggest the intensity of the rides that you do stays fairly consistent. If you want to improve it, you'll need to increase that intensity, and naturally, as the intensity increases, you'll need longer to recover. But then the fitter you get, the quicker you recover. Yeah, it's all a bit of a numbers game. Again, this is where heart rate is a great tool. Apps like Strava will calculate how much time you've spent in the various heart rate zones while out on a ride and give you a much clearer idea about how hard you've pushed yourself. And by measuring your resting heart rate, you can also work out where you are with your recovery. Generally speaking, heart rates stay elevated for an extended period of time after your ride and will take a little while to return to your normal resting base rate. A great time to check it is first thing in the morning when you wake up. Now, I'm not suggesting that you take a heart rate sensor and your cycling computer to bed with you and fiddle about with it as you wake up. You can check your heart rate easily by finding one of your pulse points with your fingers, either on your wrist or on your neck, counting how many times your heart beats in 15 seconds as measured on a watch, and then multiplying by 4. Resting heart rate is going to be very individual. The textbooks will say that a normal resting heart rate will be between 60 and 70 beats per minute, but this can vary quite a lot. For instance, me personally, my resting heart rate is around 55. By contrast, a super fit elite athlete can have one of around 38 beats per minute. But don't simply go on the numbers alone. It's also very important to listen to your body. If you don't feel like you're suitably recovered, then chances are you aren't. So what does all of this mean in real terms? Well, I can only really speak for myself, but at those times when for one reason or another my fitness has effectively gone back to square one, I will go out and do some fairly short, easy rides roughly every 2 days. And by short and easy, I mean around 20 kilometers while trying to keep my heart rate between 60 and 75% of my max. While still only riding every 2 days, I will slowly start building up the distance and intensity until I can ride 40 to 50 kilometers fairly comfortably. That for me is what I call my base fitness, and my general rule of thumb is that it will take me approximately 1500 kilometers of cycling to get there. Now, if I only wanted to maintain that level of fitness, this is where I would leave it, continuing with the same level of intensity and the same frequency of rides. If I have an event or simply want to get fitter, and quite frankly who doesn't, I'll start to increase the intensity of my rides, so typically between 70 and 85% of my max. I'll also increase the distance by around 10% a week and try to go out every other day or even every day. I will admit though that this is all in a perfect world. Like most people, I don't always have the time to actually put all of this into action, so my fitness is on a constant roller coaster going up and down. As a result, I'm always changing the intensity and frequency of my rides, but I will always try to avoid going out for my next ride before I'm suitably recovered from the last one. Sometimes though, you just have to throw theory out of the window. I for one just cannot sit indoors if it's warm and sunny outside. Even if I'm not due a ride according to my rough schedule, I'll still get the bike out and hit the road. Similarly, if you just don't feel like it, don't force yourself. At our level of cycling, it's not going to be the end of the world if you miss a day or two. Fitness is indeed a beautiful thing, but equally beautiful is enjoying what you do. Forcing yourself on the bike will only make you resent it. Thanks for watching.